So rolling start, something a little bit different for you in Turtle Wax Trans Am. Cannot wait for this one. Girton and Brooke on the front row. Ben Grice and Hearn, the champion, next. The green flag will fly at Symmons Plains Raceway, and we unleash the field of Trans Ams. Away we go. 2022 starts. Good start, Tim Brooke on the outside. Girton in the Nouveau Constructions car did not get the jump. We're 2 from 2 in that so far. You want to start second at Symmons Plains today. Grice back in position. Hearn in car number 1 has got a spot. He's up to third. But this is the hold your breath moment as they run down to the hairpin for the first time.
Grice on the outside of Hearn here, so he goes the high side here in the All-American Driveline Parts entry, side by side with last year's champion. There's a lot of that happening in the middle of the field. There's dust flying that came from Grice's car, but they all came out the other side. How?
You'll hear us going, ooh, throughout a lot of these races. Wheel-to-wheel stuff, Gricey. Wheel-to-wheel with Hearn, and the braking zone now for turn 6. The champ has got the ideal racing line, Mustang versus Mustang. Morris in behind, Grice and Morris going at it. Running wide at the hairpin earlier was Brett Holdsworth, who started 5th, but dropped a lot of spots. He ran very, very wide at turn 4, so he's got the job to do. Brother of a Bathurst winner, Owen Kelly's up plenty of spots too. He's climbed up to 10th. Qualifying didn't quite go the way of him, but he's up 2 spots from 12th already.
Rolling start time, a minute 2.5. Expect to be about 6 or 7 seconds quicker at the end of this lap. As under the Super Cheap Auto Bridge we go. Elliot Barber in the Pioneer DJ entry, car 27, locks the rears coming into the hairpin. He's got Nick Carroll just behind it. Owen Kelly in the reverse Fujitsu livery that he ran to last year in car 73. Starting to make his impressions known, 10th position. He's got Nick Carroll going side by side down the back straight.
The Pioneer DJ car spun the discs pretty hard to get stopped down there. I wasn't sure he'd get through there on contact. It was a big move from Elliot Barber, but really well executed ultimately. Textbook Symmons Plains pass. Carroll goes up the inside of the Fujitsu car. Side by side, Bircher drops a few spots. He was one of the big winners from the qualifying format. He was in the bottom half, but found himself 10 positions between qualifying, his practice time and qualifying, as Harris has a big lose on the start-finish straight. He spun on the entry to turn 1 in qualifying. He's gone a little bit earlier this time, which makes me wonder if there might have been some assistance. Otherwise, it'll be dropping a wheel off on the exit of that final corner.
Been back in the 19th, 20th position. There's going to be some guarantees, some elbows up racing down that point as he finds a way back on the track. He'll grab half a race here and get back into it. But he's going to may go a lap down here if he doesn't get going, because the field are coming down to turn 6 in the background, that shot. As he leaves the car park that is the John Bower pit straight and heads off as the leaders come around through turn 6 and 7. With Tim Brooke, Carl Girton, who's on a flying lap here, and cars off. We've got Nash Morris off the track and John McCorkindale. Appropriately enough in the Dole before you dig entry. We'll have to get the shovel out now.
I hope he phoned ahead.
Yes.
Shame for John making his debut in the category first time in Trans Am. He's been running Super 3 Series for the last 3 seasons. Before that, he was in Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, where he was a race winner. He's been a winner in everything he's driven. He's another driver that came across from Speedway competition. He was very adept in sprint cars, but that car is well and truly bogged. Didn't get an opportunity to really test this car. Had a brief shakedown at Wakefield Park Raceway before getting the Spirit of Tasmania ferry down here. There's some damage on the front, so front to rear contact by the looks of it for car 69. And for the first time today, the safety car will be deployed.
So make it out there in a hurry, and the safety car has been called to pick up Tim Brooke at the head of the field here. So safety car out the track here on lap number 5. It's Brooke, Girton and Hearn in race number 1 of the Turtle Wax Trans Ams.
And hopefully this will be a quick recovery, Matt, because it should, in theory, be a flat toe backwards, get some of the dirt and debris out, and go back racing for John McCorkindale. The problem is his weekend just becomes really challenging because he now has to start race 2 right from the back of the grid. The irony is he had just punched out the fastest middle sector of the whole motor race, so he had good speed, but he was involved in a very feisty battle pack and ultimately couldn't get any further than turn 6. So McCorkindale, who comes from Young in country New South Wales, is going to have to fight another day in race 2 tomorrow here at Race Tasmania. Feisty stuff early on though in Trans Am, with Tim Brooke leading Kyle Girton and Nathan Hearn 1, 2 and 3. Ben Grice very much enjoyed the full send around the outside of the hairpin. It didn't quite work, but it doesn't matter. It was entertaining. And Elliot Barber, hasn't he been impressive in car 27? Started 9th. He's climbed up to 5th. So big mover there. And car 48 is Nick Carroll. He's up from 10th position to 6th as we go and unpick this. Well, that's all on Johnny Mack, unfortunately. A little bit too late under brakes. And the damage to the front of his car was caused from nerfing the rear of the super cheap auto racer of Nash Morris. Unfortunate for Morris, he was the innocent party there.
That puts him back to 24th position on our order right now. So Owen Kelly's been a big mover as well from 12th position up into position number 7. These laps counting behind the safety car. If you don't follow us, it's your first time watching the Trans Ams. Where have you been hiding? Because what a category this absolutely is. It just continues to get bigger and better. And they'll travel around the eastern seaboard in season 22 as McCorkindale has been retrieved from the gravel. Should be able to fire up and take his spot, albeit a lap or two down now.
Don't forget, if you'd like to join the conversation, get involved on social media, hashtag Speed Series AU or hashtag Stand Sport AU. We'd love for you to be involved. Tell us what you think. Do you like Trans Am racing? Would you be a Chevy guy or a Ford guy or a Chrysler guy? Matt Nolte earlier today angered the Ford brigade because he said he'd rather have a Chevy, and social media has probably blown up about that, but we love it. Love a bit of interaction. We love your thoughts. Such good hard car racing this series.
Doesn't matter which way you go, you can upset someone. Looking back, the safety car still out. Lap 6 of 22. 2 races to come tomorrow, of course, with the reverse race in the morning. Brooke, Girton, Hearn, Grice, Barber and Nick Carroll. So some movers and shakers inside that top 10. Cody Bircher on debut inside the top 10, 8th. Lockie Dalton in 10th. Dalton Ellery up into 11th now. Mark Crutcher. Jet Johnson stays in 13th and Sean Richardson in 14th ahead of Jackson Rice. So plenty of the rookies giving the tree a bit of a shake here in Turtle Wax Trans Am.
So Jet Johnson, who are riding on board with now, lost 2 spots, but gained them back when Morris and McCorkindale had their drama down at turn 6. So he's back exactly where he started in 13th. Really positive stuff for the 3rd generation driver, car 117, which is just outstanding. So solid stuff. He'll be working his way towards the top 10. Tim Brooke leads the way. Girton, Hearn and Grice the 4. Elliot Barber 5th. A restart not that far away here at Simmons Plains Raceway and AWC Race Tasmania.
AWC Race Tasmania continues here today. You're watching the Speed Series in Simmons Plains. A bit going on in the first race of the Turtle Wax Trans Am Series, and it started down here in turn 6 for John McCorkindale.
So a little bit too late under brakes into 6. It's a big stop at the end of a long straight. The stopping performance of these cars is good, but unfortunately McCorkindale just overestimated it a little bit there, and light contact. It wasn't a massive hit to Nash Morris, but unfortunately he was the innocent victim. Super cheap car spun around, and Dial Before You Deep car was dug into the gravel trap.
March 23, lock that one in here on Stand Sport. It's going to be massive. Just like the remaining few laps of this race, Richard Crowell, the Turtle Wax Trans Am Series, the safety car is going back into the pits for a service and oil change, and Tim Brooke will lead us around with Girton, Hearn, Grice and Elliot Barber, the top 5.
What does the champion do? Nathan Hearn sits in 3rd. He's got 2 feisty, young, but quite experienced drivers in front. But he'll want a big haul of championship points to open his account early. How aggressive is he? And what does he do if Ben Grice launches one down at the hairpin in car 03, just in behind? It's like a NASCAR race as they funnel down under the bridge towards the hairpin. Good restart, race leader, but he's bowled it wide, too wide for Tim Brooke. War Racing prepared car drops it, and now he's in a race with Kyle Girton. There'll be some aero assistance with a side draft as they go around the sweeper, but he might have just done enough to hold on to that, but that was definitely an error from Tim Brooke at the hairpin, and it almost cost him big time.
What a recovery at the turn 4 hairpin, and wasn't lacking the horsies on the exit. Got back into the lead, and the next part is the same as the last part. Fantastic bit of motor racing then from Brooke. He's found something with this car. Of course, he was a Toyota 86 champion, and here it is on the way down to the turn 4 hairpin. So he parked it down the middle to prevent a move from Kyle Girton, but then would run the tradie pad number 38 wide, too wide, but like a slingshot, just wound it up and went side by side from the Newlon hairpin.
Yeah, that was really, it was sort of an inadvertent wide line, and you really square off the corner. So we got quite good drive. 37 is off the road down at turn 1. And, oh, what's going on with Owen Kelly? He's having a shocking day. Qualified particularly well, the Tassie hero, who was successful in NASCAR competition.
It's Jackson Rice that's, he's got away just in time, so we'll keep the race alive here. So the pedal suspension snap-on tools entry rejoins the track just as the leaders are coming through to complete another lap. We both breathe up here. We did not need another safety car. Lock up from Hearn, lock up from Tim Brook into turn number 2 now.
I was watching Brook and the thing was all crossed up sideways over the hump, but another really good bit of car control from the race leader. He's driving this thing so hard, but he's holding on out in front, battling for the race lead. Lap 10 of 22, Stubbsy.
Just a quick update on Owen Kelly. Just spoke to Michael Sambros. The issue there, his seatbelt came undone and he couldn't reconnect it himself, needed assistance. He's back out.
Thanks, Stubbsy. Bit of contact happening down here too at the hairpin, the Newlon hairpin between Crutcher and Jet Johnson. We saw from the in-car camera of the Full Throttle Barbecue entry. So Crutcher gets it done, but with a bit of contact for good measure. Puts himself now up into position 11.
You're bolted into these cars very tight. You've got your hands, the head and neck support device around your shoulders with your helmet tied on. So sometimes you just cannot physically reach down and get to your belts to put them back in. And it's a massive safety concern, of course, if your seat belts come undone. So that's difficult. And that's Ethan Thornborough, who was involved in turning the 37 around at turn 2. Oh, that's not great, is it? Car has been off the road down at turn 6. We've already had some previous burn-offs down there this weekend, and our local fire team have done such a wonderful job. Our volunteer marshals in this sport could not exist without the volunteers that put on such a great show. Hopefully get that under control. Pretty light stubble down there, so hopefully it won't burn too far. But hot exhausts, warm day here in Tassie. We need to be very, very bushfire safe.
Normally you'd see that in the valley, in Darwin, a Hidden Valley on a day like this. Not in Tasmania. You can see the burn marks on the right-hand side as the leaders come through to complete another lap. Half race distance now as Grice starts to engage with the Valvoline number 1, your reigning Turtle Wax Trans Am Series champ. Safety car has been called. There it is at the top of pit lane. Just the group of leaders were coming through. So our hard-working volunteers and marshals will get out there and quickly extinguish the fire here on lap number 12 of the Turtle Wax Trans Am Series. It's hot and off the track with Brook, Girton, Hearn and Grice, your top 4. And Nick Carroll rocks his way up at a position number 5.
So 2 separate fronts down at turn 6 that the Country Fire Service are going to have to deal with down there. It's an unfortunate side effect, and when racing cars run off the road, the hot exhausts, they run so low to the ground, it doesn't take much to get something like that burning. So our fire officials will do their job, get that under control, and the safety car in the meantime will bring the field under control with Tim Brook leading. This race has been pretty wild. Nolts, there's been lots going on, and through it all, Tim Brook, who's been throwing his car around at all sorts of crazy angles, has just been doing everything he needed to do to hold on, and he got the margin out to almost half a second before that safety car was called after the previous restart.
But his first pole last year at Sydney, went on to do it again at Bathurst before picking up a race win as well at Sydney Motorsport Park. Finished on the podium at the final round and ended up the series in 3rd position. So he's a former Toyota 86 Racing Series champion, driven all kinds of cars in his career, and happy to see him back behind the wheel of that 38 Tradie Pad car as the Tasmania Fire Service come out to help our volunteer staff, of which there's countless numbers out there who give up their time to be here. They've been here since Thursday when we had a private practice day, and through our practice and qualifying day yesterday. Without them, we simply can't go racing.
Motor racing throws up some weird stuff every now and then, doesn't it? It's not the kind of thing you generally expect when you go into a motor race, but this is one of the things we deal with when dry, summery conditions, and this is what happened. So it's the 777 car, that Craig Scatella that's gone off the road.
It's in, look at the muck in the front there.
Lucky the front bumper didn't catch fire with all the grass that he'd ingested, and it was that moment there that's done the drama, I think, just pulling to a halt, and that heat soak under the cars hundreds of degrees. Brake rotors down there will be somewhere in the vicinity of 700 degrees after hauling up a 1,250 kilo Trans Am car from 240 kilometres an hour. So even that radiant heat is enough to light what is a pretty dry surround at Symmons Plains Raceway.
Scatella, who's back in 23rd position. This has helped Owen Kelly. Even though he had to make that pit stop, he can join the tail of the field in the Fujitsu number 73. You would have heard Chris Stubbs talk about Marcus Ambrose, the Marcus Ambrose. Great mates, they go a long way back. And of course, he helped engineer him at the start of last year under Marcus Ambrose Motorsport banner. Of course, Marcus, part of the Combine group that's been getting the young drivers up here, which a few have progressed into certain categories in the Speed Series this year.
The Fireys have done an outstanding job down there, so hoping we'll get a decent amount of racing laps back to the finish of this race, because it could be a really cool battle. Brooke, Girton and Hearn and Grice have all been fiery and all look like they've got the race cars to do the job. So the Tassie Fire Service are at work. We're under safety car at Symmons Plains at AWC Race Tasmania, race 1 of the Turtle Wax Trans Am Series for 2022. Hugely competitive field, competitive motor racing. A few little bumps in the road, but lots more of the show still to come at Symmons Plains Raceway.
The Speed Series continues here as we just mop up the small fire caused by Craig Scatella's 777 entry. And our fire crew just mopping this up so we can go back to some green flag racing very soon on lap 14 of 22. Your leaderboard at the bottom of the screen there, taking you through who your favourite drivers are of this 26-car field.
Big contest. Catch it all live at Break Free on Stan Sports and on demand afterwards as well. I suggest the Tassie Fire Service fairly busy. We should emphasise it has been very dry down here lately. Not a lot of rain. Quite a warm summer. Bushfires always a risk, and we do thank everyone who works for the fire services, not just here but all around the country. We know there's been some fires burning over in the west as well. If you're watching, a pit lane speed limit violation perhaps though, and pit entry there, but doing
a button on the wheel there.
Correct, doing a nice job to get off the racetrack so we can get some racing underway. And as we've been talking about, a feisty battle at the front. These cars sliding around, they move around a lot. They don't have a huge amount of drama following closely, which is always a massive tick when it comes to this level of motor racing. And then you get exciting young drivers behind the wheel throwing these cars around. It always puts on a great show. 8 laps left on the schedule. Hopefully we'll get a majority of that in if we go caution-free for the remainder of this one. And in the mix of it all, Jet Johnson, he's gained a spot up to 12th, just on the cusp of the top 10. If he could grab a couple more spots, Nolts, in this one, that will be a very, very good day at the office for the 3rd generation Johnson.
Yeah, been consistent around that number all weekend long through practice and qualifying. Also, Nash Morris, remember, he dropped down to the tail of the field. It's now in 16th position in car 67, so the Flash is moving his way up through the field in that Super Cheap Auto number 67.
That was always going to happen, wasn't it? Quick forward progress for the Super Cheap car, the Flash. His dad Paul watching on. All right, here we go. 7 laps scheduled for the remainder of this one. But Tim Brooke will hope to lead whatever's left of the opening race in Turtle Wax Trans Am. He has been spectacular in his control of this race so far, holding off the pole sitter Kyle Girton and the champion Nathan Hearn. And another very good, well-judged restart. But it was down at 4 where all the action happens at the famous Symmons Plains hairpin. Let's find out what happens this time by. Back here at Daytona.
See all the different lines of cars coming through there as Johnson on the outside of Crutcher. And the 4 will stay there. So that's the second part of that argument. They made a bit of contact earlier in the race as Brooke just gets a slight margin on Kyle Girton. Hearn is still in 3rd position and no less than 6 cars under the lap record from last year, including Cody Bircher, who's still inside the top 10 on his debut run. And still they're side by side on the way down to turn number 7 here.
Crutcher in the 4 car looking down the inside of Johnson. There might be a little bit of contact there. Dalton Ellery just in front of them. He's made ground too. Inside the top 10, Johnson with the big slide. Can he hold on to that? Yes, he can. Good stuff. The full throttle barbecue entry going along well. Sean Richardson in the mix. Morris catching his group. Oh, there's contact. No. Catch it, catch. watch it. Does he go at the fence? He does. What a shame for Tim Shaw.
And there was another car just ahead of him there too. It was Nick Carroll who come to a stop. So a lot to unpick from that one as Richardson goes to the outside. The Road Rage Industries RTC Group number 12 getting squeezed out towards the wall by Mark Crutcher, who's real racy today in car number 4.
Yeah, he's been busy for the last 2 and a bit kilometres. Tim Brook out untroubled out in front, coolant pouring out the front of Tim Shaw's car. The Tasmania not having a good day at the office, and with a big rebuild to do overnight to get back on the racetrack. And we go back to safety car. What a shame. But those cars in harm's way. The exit of turn 2. Oh, and Crutcher goes around at 6.
Oh, I see. The commentator's curse is back again this year.
Get the fire engines ready.
Yeah. Quickly get out that scene. He'll rejoin, but drops a ton of spots. He'll come out outside position 20. Not a good sight, and a fairly busy Saturday night coming up for the Shaw Motorsport team to get the appliance wide entry back out for race number 2 tomorrow. And Nick Carroll just ahead. He might have been looking at the mirror going, I'm safe. Oh, maybe I'm not. And it was contact between Morris and Shaw, which ultimately saw the 66 exit stage right and hit that guardrail on the right-hand side with 5 laps remaining. Here it is on the replay. So watch the red Super Cheap Auto car in the back of the shot, up towards the back of Shaw in car 66.
So Shaw ran wide and just got a little bit of a nudge on the exit, but the 66 car was already probably 1.5 meters off the apex. So Nick Carroll was unrelated to that. He was just going slowly on his own. But Shaw was just wide going into turn 1, so I'm not sure if the car was already sliding. But on the exit of the corner, Morris had such a run. There was just the slightest of contact, and it was enough to unload Tim, turned him round, and then once he got to the grass, he was a passenger and made hefty contact with the fence there. Morris is up to 11th position through all of that, from 25th at the restart. We understand that the race will conclude under the control of the safety car. So Tim Brook will open his account with a win. And what a way to do it. He's survived some argy-bargy, some slides, some big moments, a bushfire, just about everything else. The first race of the Trico Trans Am Series will go the way of Tim Brook. Tremendous drive, all down to the start as well, from second on the grid. Converted it into an early lead and never headed from there. Cole Girton second, really impressive start for the young Queenslander. And Nathan Hearn, the defending champion, goes from third. There's some unhappy people though, some discussions to be had post-race.
That was Tim Shaw giving the naughty signal to Morris on his way back into the pits. So might be some more to this at the end of race number 1. Congratulations though to Tim Brook, starting off 22 the way he ended season 2021 in the tradie pad number 38 behind the safety car ahead of Girton, Hearn, Grice and Elliot Barber.
Pretty disappointed with how that race played out, and there'll be some unpicking of that in the Tim Shaw camp, I should say. A couple of Tims right in the storylines throughout that race. Here's how they finished. So it was Tim Brook in front, 8/10 the final margin, but under safety car the finish. Girton and Hearn next. Cody Bircher, I thought, a really good drive to 6th. Brent Holdsworth recovered outside the top 10 early, back to 7th. Jet Johnson gets a top 10 on debut in Trico Trans Am. That's a terrific drive.
Good to see a couple of rookies inside the top 10. Morris with a question mark maybe next to the Super Cheap Auto 67. Richardson just behind, ahead of Sutton, McAllister, Thornborough. Owen Kelly got back up to 16th, down to Hollinger. And outside the 20, we had Harris, Mick Rao, Mark Crutcher. Then we had Nick Carroll, Tim Shaw and John McCorkindale not finishing in the race. But Tim Brook, congratulations. We'll start from the pole for race number 2 tomorrow. Loads more still to come here from Tasmania.
Yeah, not a bad way to start the season, though, for the defending champion, Nathan Hearn, 3rd place. What did you make of it?
Yeah, look, it's good. We're struggling a little bit more than I thought we would with the car setup. Just haven't found a happy place yet. But you know, this year I said to myself at the start of the year, I'm going to try and tone down, you know, the aggression and try and get every race win, but and go for the championship. So, look, 3rd place, got good championship points. It's good. Well, it's good for the team and a good way to start the year with them. But yeah, look, hopefully we can get the pace of these front 2 guys. Like, they just drove away from me at will then. So, yeah, we'll go at it, we'll work at it, and we'll get there tomorrow.
Good job, Nathan. Well done. In second place was Kyle Girton. He's just getting out of the car. We'll bounce on to our winner, though. Tim Brook, he was victorious for the first time last year at Sydney Motorsport Park. That's a second win. What a way to start the season, Tim. You must be super happy.
Yeah, absolutely stoked. Yeah, we've worked pretty hard in the off season since Bathurst, and this was the game plan, I suppose. So didn't quite get the job done in quali, so I kicked myself around a bit, and yeah, happy days. Got the first win of the year.
That first restart going into the hairpin, that looked a little sketchy. You had us worried.
Yeah, I've still been making a few too many mistakes out there, so that's all good. If you can have a few mistakes and still get the job done, and it's been a good day, so we'll try and tidy it up for tomorrow.
Mate, well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers.